Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I have reorganized my channel a little bit and created a new membership tier on YouTube. This is how the new organization looks like. We can see that in terms of exclusive videos, the YouTube Go Game Supporter tier is a subset of YouTube Go Dojo tier, which is a subset of Patreon Go Explorer that is a subset of Patreon Go Chef. So if you ever decide to sign up for a Patreon membership, make sure you cancel the membership on YouTube because otherwise the content will overlap. Unless you really want to support me on both platforms, which some people do, and I deeply appreciate that. The reason I'm doing this is because some people told me that Patreon is not supported in their countries and the payment system doesn't work for them. Also, some viewers like to stay only on YouTube. Furthermore, with this setup, I can finally give my Ghost Game Supporter tier members some exclusive videos as well.
Today's game is the fifth game of the Nongshim Cup. For my viewers who have forgotten, Nongshim Cup is the tournament that I was covering before the Samsung Cup, where each country sent out a few players, and whenever a player loses, he is eliminated. He can't play anymore, right? So at the end, whichever country still has players remaining will win that tournament. So it's more like a tournament between countries. So today, the game is between Tan Xiao 9P and Kang Dongyun 9P. Both are world champions. Tan Xiao is playing as black and Kang Dongyun is playing as white. The game starts out like this. Black immediately takes the Sansan. White blocks, black rolls, white extends, and black plays the Keima, a very standard Joseki. White approaches, black defends, and white approach again. And here Tan Xiao plays rock solid, double Kosumi defense. And at this point, Kang Dongyun decided to play the jump over here and enclose the corner and leave the two stones hanging on top. Tan Xiao decided to not attack any of them right away. Rather, he comes in and deal with the problem on the bottom. White kicks, black extends, and here white plays this move over here, right? This is a very interesting looking move, right? It expands white towards the top, but also is looking at the follow-up, right? Peeping at black shape over here. Here, black decides to play the Keima, which is a very big move. If I was playing as white, I would actually think about either playing a move over here, right, because it's absolutely huge, or I would be thinking about pincering black. The move that white played in the actual game, it's the first time I'm seeing this. But when black plays the Keima, not only black expands over here, but also this move puts a lot of pressure on white. So of course the game is still completely equal at this point, but I personally wouldn't know how to deal with this situation as white. But in the actual game, I learned something from Kang Dongyun because he plays this one. So I don't even know how to call it, but it's actually, usually it's not a great move, right? Because when black blocks, it feels like your stone is hitting a wall. But actually, this is a very good move to play in this particular situation because white can simply block. Now, if black plays the Hane, then white will definitely cut, right? The reason white can cut like this is because white has two supporting stones over here and three supporting stones on the left side to support this fight. So this is not an easy fight for black because black is a little bit outnumbered. In the actual game, black decides to extend. White also pushes behind. And at this point, black decides to Hane. Of course, here black can also just extend and play simple. But Tan Xiao decides to put more pressure on white, and Kang Dongyun, as one of the greatest fighters, he decided to just cut over here. Black extends, white also extends, and here black plays the 3-space extension, approaching white's corner and also extend black, right, saving the 3 stones. And here Kang Dongyun directly goes for a fight, and the game gets a little bit more intense. In the actual game, black decides to attach on the second line. It looks really weird at first glance, but this is actually played based on a lot of calculations. If black attaches on top, white will Hane. If black cuts, white Atari, and here black cannot extend. If black extends, then white also connects. And at this point, we can see black 3 stones is in trouble. If black Atari, white connects, and we can see there's no way for black to get home, because black has too much liberty problems. So Now, if black cuts over here, that obviously doesn't work either because white can extend. So basically at this point, it's not possible for black to get out. So obviously black cannot accept this position. Therefore, the correct move to play is for black to squeeze Atari. White takes black Atari on the second line, and white now pushes on top. And we can see that for human players, this is definitely a horrible position for black because white was able to gain such a strong influence towards the outside, right? If white ever gets a move over here, this is all becoming territory more or less. So Tan Xiao did not like that variation, and therefore he didn't go for the attach on top. Actually, the attach on top could also work, right? Here, black has to play correctly by extending like this. But of course, this is very hard for humans to see, because when white connects, it looks like black is broken into pieces. But actually, black is just fine, like this. But I totally understand Tan Xiao, because if it's a variation that you don't understand, then obviously you don't play that variation. Tan Xiao decides to attach on the second line. And at this point, white honey, black blocks. That's just an exchange. And at this point, white goes for the fight, trying to cut off this connection. In the actual game, Tan Xiao played a pretty mysterious honey over here, but it's actually all based on calculation. If black cuts, which is our intuition, white Atari, black Atari on top, and white takes. Black blocks, and white now clamps. And here, if black extends to block that connection, then white can kick on the third line. Black has to turn, and white now cuts on top. Black Atari, white extends, black Atari, white connects, and here black has to connect over here, right? Black cannot allow white Atari and then cut off the two stones. So black connects, and here white jumps towards the center. So the result of this is that here black needs to spend one move to reach a co-position, and if white plays a move, white just clean kills black, right? So locally, this is a slightly better position for white in terms of a liberty fight. Now, if ever black loses the 3 stones, which means that this group has to run for a very long time because they don't really have eyes. So this is definitely a better position for white. The reason Tan Xiao plays the Hane first is hoping that white would respond to this. If white responds to this, and then black can cut. White Atari, black Atari, white takes, but here we can see black can connect like this. And all of a sudden this turn is really breaking white's shape. If white cuts, black will simply extend out. And at this point, we can see that black can just sacrifice the 2 stones to fight the center. The difference is that with this turn here, later on black has all kinds of tactics. For example, black can peep here, right, which is the shape move against white's 3 stones. And this peep will make white very uncomfortable. So Kang Dongyun understood what Tan Xiao was trying to do, therefore he placed the tiger's mouth first. This is looking at the Hane here and trying to kill the corner. Black Atari to prevent that, and white now captures the stone on the second line. Black Hanes, and white tries to drag the stone out. Black connects, white now plays the Kusumi to prevent black from attaching out. Black attaches, white pushes through, and now black pulls the stone back. He's trying to kill the group on the left side. White pushes, and now black adds another move to completely secure the kill on the left side. Does this mean that this is game over for white? Actually, not even close, because when white captures the 2 stones in the center, we can see white gain a lot of strength and influence, right? And it's all connected right now. And this will build a huge moyo for black to deal with over here. The next move, black decides to add another move to make sure white is killed. And we can see that because black spends so many moves, then sacrificing a group over here is justified for white. Now, how come black needs to add another move over here? What happens if we don't? Well, if we don't add another move, and we just try to destroy the moyo here, white can now play the extension. This is peeping at black. Black has to connect, and here white connects. We can see that there's a Hane here, therefore black has to prevent that, and now we can go for the push and cut. So locally, this is going to be a liberty fight, and it's pretty tough for black to deal with. Black likely has the squeeze here to prevent white making an eye, but we can see that there's a lot of Aji in the corner. For example, white can throw in an Atari, and it's going to create a ko, And there's a lot of common liberties between the two groups. So even if black does not get killed, it's going to be a mess inside. So Tan Xiao did not want to deal with that mess. And in the actual game, he just, tried to clean kill this group and claim a lot of territory. But claiming that much territory has a heavy cost because white now gets another move on the outside. And we can see this is a very scary moyo. So Tan Xiao now has to figure out how to live inside this moyo because white is really thick right now. Black first asks a question in the corner, white connects, and here Tan Xiao decides to come in like this. Let's see if Tan Xiao can live inside. White pushes on top, black jumps out, and white plays the Tengen, completely sealing black inside. And this looks very hard for black. The next move, black pushes, white hanes, and here black plays the big monkey face, trying to support his stone on the second line while extending the 3 stones, right? Just trying to make as much ice space as possible. The next move, Kang Dongyun decided to go for the kill, right? Poking at black's shape, not letting black make an eye. Black connects. White now pushes on top, and black plays the Kosumi. This is a Sente trying to drag the 2 stones out. White prevents that. And here, black plays a very beautiful shape move. Right? If you play something else, then white is going to peep here, and black likely won't have enough ice. So we can see that when you're trying to live, Kosumi is usually a really good shape because it allows more flexibility and it gives you more ice space. White also plays out a Kosumi and trying to poke at the weakness here. Black has to connect back, and here white hops back. If white turns and kills the stone, white was worried that black will take this point away, and now we can see some ice space for black, and this stone is also helping giving black the choice to later jump in and search for more ice space. Kang Dongyun plays the jump, which I really liked because this move not only gets rid of black's ice space, but also protects the main part of the territory. Black pulls the stone back, white obviously has to protect the corner, and at this point, black bumps into white, white captures, and now black plays the squeeze here, the shape move, trying to live the dragon. Kang Dongyun is not convinced that this dragon is alive, therefore he squeezes, black connects, and here white extends. Black blocks, white pushes once, that's a Sente, and now white clamps, trying to kill, basically breaking this eye over here, and check how black's gonna live. Here black plays the Atari, white takes, and here black bumps into white. So at this point, it's already very difficult for white to kill black, because if white goes for the kill, black is going to throw in first. White takes black Atari, and we can see a miai of taking and cutting. So when white connects, black will take, right? This is already becoming a ko, and it's very hard for white to win the ko because black has the wedge in the center and then the Atari. So there's a bunch of threats that black has to win this ko, right? So this would be very difficult for white to win. So that is why at this point, Kang Dongyun realizes that it's not so easy to kill black. Therefore, he decided to just play somewhere else. Black plays the Keima. This is a must-play move to make sure black has a little base over here. White now plays another Keima to enclose black. Black now plays the Atari. White simply extends. And with this move, black made himself a little bit safer because he has the option to capture the 2 stones. It's very important for black to exchange this right now to make sure that white later on cannot play stuff like this, right? It's very unlikely that white would play something like this, but you never know, right? When white really wants to kill, then he can play like this. Black Atari, he will just suffer all the Ataris, and then when you connect, maybe he's going to jump here, make sure you don't have an eye, right? This could happen, and it's very important to make sure that that doesn't happen. So black plays the Atari first, and white extends. Now black can finally breathe for this dragon, right? It's completely alive. So if white connects here, then black can capture the stone on the second line. So black has no problem. And at this point, black decides to invade over here, plus the pincer. But this turns out to be a slight inaccuracy or mistake for black. This is not the correct idea. The correct idea for black right now is to really secure the 3 stones here. They're in trouble, right? If white gets to add another move, this group is in very grave danger. So here, maybe the best move is for black to either attach or to attach on the second line, trying to just make a life. And as long as black's group over here is secure, then later on he can invade over here without any worries. If white plays something like this, we see that black still has an invasion point over here, or even an invasion point over here, right? If black invades like this, it's not certain that white can kill black over here. So the security of this group is very important, but in the actual game, Tan Xiao had the wrong idea. He thought that his group is going to be fine. But at this point, when Kang Dongyun decided to go for the very fierce attack, all of a sudden black is kind of in trouble. In the actual game, black decides to block here, which usually is not a great move. The reason it's not a great move is because you're trying to respond to everything that your opponent is doing. And this is usually not the way to win when you're playing against 9-dan professional. A better move here is maybe for black to attach, stick to the principle of invasion, and just attach to our opponent, right? So if white extends, then we can attach over here, right? And all of a sudden we have some ice space. And that's how you play when you are under attack. Tan Xiao's move is very passive and very defensive, and this shows you that Tan Xiao is not necessarily in a good state today, right? In this game, maybe he's very tired, right? I heard that he was playing Kejie in China, and then he had to fly to Korea to play this game and against Kang Dongyun. So the travel, and just going to a different country, maybe like Tan Xiao was very tired when he was playing this game, because this is usually not a move that we see in 9-dan professional games. And this is definitely a textbook example to my viewers as to what you shouldn't do in the game of Go, is to respond to everything that your opponent is doing. All right, so black plays a very passive move, and now white is definitely gaining a lead. White now decides to play very solid, just making sure that his stone over here is okay. Of course, here Kang Dongyun could have played the Kosumi, which is more accurate, right? Because black defended once, then we can poke here and let black defend another time, right? And this would be a great exchange for white. In the actual game, white decides to play solid. Black plays 2-space extension, that's almost a must-play move. And now white plays the Kosumi. At the first glance, it looks a little weird, but actually this shows you that Kang Dongyun is definitely a very strong world champion, right? This move is a very good move. It has a lot of reading behind it. If white doesn't play, right? If white just says, hey, let me play something else. For example, I'm trying to play the Kosumi and attack you. You can pause the video and think about how you want to play here as black, right? This is a very good Sumego problem for very high level players. But you can always give it a try. I think it'll be very interesting to you. All right, so here, the correct move for black to play is actually to Tsuji on the second line. Black can actually just attach onto white, and white doesn't really have a good response because the shape is not very good. If white plays the Hane, then black is going to cut. And here, it doesn't matter what white does, right? We have a Mii of Atari here and connect and kill the corner, or Atari over here and connect the two groups. For example, if white Atari, I can Atari and connect. We can see that black now is completely safe, and this is not acceptable for white. Not to say that this stone is absolutely hurt. But if white Atari like this, then black doesn't even care. Black will just capture the corner, right? And all of a sudden, this move looks a little silly because black lived in a very efficient way by capturing white's corner. This is obviously not acceptable for white. If white extends towards the outside, black will bump into white. White blocks, black cuts, white connects, black crawls back, and we can see that's pretty much game over because not only now the two groups are connected, but also with a bunch of points. So white can obviously not play like that. If white extends back, black will Hane, white plays the triangle, and here black can now play the attach and try to live this group. After black lives this group, we can see that these exchanges are so good for black. Black gains so much more territory, and white just made a very ugly shape. That's also not a great move, a great variation for white. If white bumps into black, black will Hane. And here, for the same reason, white cannot Atari and let black Atari on top. So white needs to extend out, Black plays the tiger's mouth, white Atari, black connects, and white now connects. And we can see that result of this is that it's almost the same as before, where black gained a lot of profits, and now black can attach and try to survive this group. So this is also not going to be acceptable for white. So when black attaches over here, we have seen all the variations, and we have, we realize that there's really no good response for white, right? It means that this attach is too strong, and white cannot allow it. That's exactly what Kang Dongyun was playing. He played the Kosumi here. Tan Xiao now jumps out, trying to help out the two stones and also put more pressure on white. White Atari, that's a Sente, or else white connects here and the group will be dead. So black has to come back and live the group. White hops out, and here Tan Xiao plays another rock solid move, right? Forming the box over here. So this is already rock solid, and this move is also trying to help out the group over here. Kang Dongyun plays the slide into the corner, absolutely a huge territorial move. With this move, white is also aiming at the counter attack. So black decides to play another move, secure more territory and the two stones. And at this point, Kang Dongyun has done all the preparations, and now he's going for the final attack onto black's group. Black blocks, and now white plays the Kosumi here. So this move is another very big sign that Tan Xiao is very tired in this game, right? So this also, it's the same mistake as this one, where black should just really play more aggressive by attaching to our opponent and then attach over here, right? At least putting pressure against your opponent. Because when you play a move like this, white is not worried at all, right? This is just a favorable exchange for white. All right, the next move, white plays a Kosumi here. This is a very necessary move. If white goes directly for the attack, then black can counterattack. White pushes and black will clamp. White connects, black can kick first, white blocks, and now black pulls the stone back. And the variation goes like this: white Hane, black Atari, and white pushes through. Black captures, white Atari on the first line. Black cuts, and white takes back. And we can see that this is going to become a ko. And it's pretty heavy for both sides, right? So Kang Dongyun, as the player who's leading, he does not want to go into this variation where it's very complicated and chaotic. So he plays a move over here, preparing for the Keima. And here, absolutely, it's the time for Tan Xiao to play a move to save this group. But in the actual game, Tan Xiao decides to extend one more time, responding to what white is doing. So we have seen that Tan Xiao played one second line move, two second line move, and the third one, right? And because of all these passive second line moves, all of a sudden Kang Dongyun is just leading a lot in this game, right? Because Tan Xiao played way too passive. Here, it's still a good opportunity for black to play the attach and try to make his group stronger, right? Even if white gets this type of move, it's not the end of the world because black can still live this group. But Tan Xiao responds a third time, and at this point, Kang Dongyun is in the position of starting a very fierce attack. Plays the Kosumi here. So the next move, Tan Xiao plays the Keima, trying to get out. White attaches, and here black squeeze over here. Black doesn't really want to respond to this move anymore because otherwise it'd be too dangerous. So black squeezes, white connects, black plays the tiger's mouth, white blocks, and now black squeezes the corner. White connects, and at this point, black plays the cut on the third line. This is a very nice Tetsuji. The idea is for white to capture the stone. It looks like a suicide, but we will see why black plays this move. It's because at this point, black is going to block here, and all of a sudden, black's life and death situation changes. So here, it is a very interesting life and death problem. Usually when black has a shape like this, it's a clean dead. But because black has a cut over here, this kind of changes the situation. If white bumps into black and tries to kill this group, obviously because you want to play here because you want to prevent black making a second eye. So can black live in here? The answer is actually yes. Black's correct move is to play the triangle here. If white throws in trying to break the eye, then white can extend on the first line. White peeps in, black blocks, and white connects. It looks like a straight 3 inside, but actually this is a Seki because black's move over here is a Sente. We're trying to turn. So white needs to block, and here black comes back and secure this point over here. And we can see that because black has a tiger's mouth here, This is actually a Seki. Typically, white's killing move is to play the Hane. And now we can see why Tan Xiao played the cut, because now black can make this move over here. White needs to peep in to kill black. Black can block, white connects, black Atari. If white connects, black can now play the run, and now it's black kills white. So white cannot really play like this. So we can see that at this point, when black plays the triangle, it's already alive for black, right? This is a very common shape in the game of Go. So it's worth to remember the life and death in here. So when you encounter the shape like this, you don't have to memorize, you don't have to calculate again. But the life and death over here might not be that simple, and we will see in the game. In the actual game, Kang Dongyun decided to bully this group first. Black blocks and white Atari. White is making sure that he's rock solid before he can come back and try to test the life and death in here. Black now plays the second line Kosumi to try to live the group. And the next move is really the highlight of the game. I just presented the life and death over here, and we all thought that black is clean alive. But here, when white throws in, this Tsuji shows us that black is actually not clean alive. So the idea of playing this move is that it forms an Atari on this stone, which makes the 3 stones here stronger, right? Which makes this cutting point useless. And here black cannot live anymore, based on the theory. So if black tries to live, then white can actually just Hane here, right? If you connect, then I can just play out the exact variation. And we can see that because I have an Atari over here, all of a sudden this is not going to work. So Tan Xiao realizes that, and therefore he has to capture the stone first. But when black captures the stone first, we can see that this is not an eye anymore. And now white simply captures the stone over here, making sure that black cannot live inside, right? So when white is very solid on both sides, black cannot live with a shape like this. So all of a sudden, black went from a clean alive to just not alive. So Tan Xiao has to figure out how to deal with this group. Black now squeeze white, and white now bumps into black. This is a must play, or else black bumps here and make the second eye. White gets rid of the eye here, and now black plays the Atari. White squeeze Atari and black Atari. So if black just captures, that doesn't mean that black is alive, because white can still squeeze. And then black is just, black has to rely on a ko. So in the actual game, it's more or less the same story. Black Atari, and here white Atari from behind. Black takes, and then they start this ko fight. So white squeezes, black has to connect, white takes, and black tries to make the ko threat here, right? Trying to live here is also ko threat. So white Hane, black takes, and white now squeeze over here. Looking at the life and death of this dragon, black answers, and white now takes back. Black connects, white peeps in, black takes back, white now connects the group back. That's a Sente. Black has to prevent the double Atari, and here white takes back. Black blocks, white connects, black takes back, and here white plays the squeeze, trying to look for ko threat here, right? This is a ko threat because looking at the tiger's mouth Atari. So black Atari, white takes back, and now black throws in. White takes, black takes back, and now white connects. Black also connects, making sure that there's no more ko threat. White takes, and here black Atari. And at this point, instead of connecting over here, white decides to cut, even creating more ko threat. So at this point, black can already live, but black did not choose to live, right? Black decides to take the ko back, and this pretty much means, black pretty much live with a different way, right? So black can connect here as a choice and also take, right? So there's a miai that makes sure that black is alive. White Atari, black connects, and here when white takes back, instead of just trying to live, right? If black lives like this, there's no problem, but white can actually crawl here, right? So black fixed the problem here, but what about the problem in this area? When black Atari, white connects, the liberty fight goes like this. So black squeezes, white connects, and they just squeeze each other's liberty. And at this point, we can see that if white throws in, it becomes immediate ko. But white doesn't have to throw in now. White can actually attach over here and create ko threats, right? For example, if black blocks, white crosscut, and white is going to create a bunch of co-threat, and then he's going to throw in and capture black. So that is a very serious problem for black. That's why in the actual game, instead of just living, Tan Xiao adds another move to secure the kill here. White now attaches on the black. Instead of getting rid of the co, white is looking for this advanced tactic where he creates more co-threats and then come back and fight black. Black honey, and white now connects. Black takes, and here white plays the squeeze. That's a co-threat. Black has to connect. White takes back. Black now captures the stone. And at this point, white decides to let black off the hook, right? White could keep going with the co by squeezing over here, but white decides to just claim some profit and call it a day because white knows that he is ahead. So black takes, white takes, and here black crawls, making sure that this group is alive. White blocks, black now connects. White takes, and black now peeps over here. So locally, this is already alive for black, right? If white takes back, black will connect here and make 2 ice. So at this point, the fight is really happening over here. White pushes, black pushes through, white also pushes through, and here black cuts. White connects, and black bumps into white. We can see that throughout this game, Tan Xiao has been trying to live very miserably, right? Starting with this dragon, right, which barely made it, right, inside white's moyo. So white lost some moyo over here, but then white all of a sudden transferred the attack over here. Once again, black lived in a very miserable way with a few points, and then white transferred the attack over to the top, and black once again tried to live with just a few points. And we can see that if you play Go in this way, it's almost impossible to win against a Nandan professional because you're just trying to survive everywhere, and that's not good. And this is exactly what's happening for black in this game. White extends, black connects, and here white extends. Black has to block, and white takes. Black connects, and here we can see finally when white plays the Kosumi, white claimed a lot of profits for free. And black has to add another move to just live this group, because otherwise there's always the possibility of at some point white plays here and this group is not alive. So it was very important for black to add another move to make sure he's alive. And at this point, when Kang Dongyun plays the biggest endgame on the board, this is already a losing game for black. Right? At this point, white is even leading on the board just because how miserable the 3 groups have lived. Right? And white has claimed profits everywhere during the attack. And this is just a winning game for Kang Dongyun. But the interesting point is, at this point, Tan Xiao obviously knows that he's very behind, but he still kept playing until the very end. I was trying to understand why he was doing that, and I heard the commentator say that the idea for Tan Xiao to play until the last move is to exhaust Kang Dongyun, so that the next game when Kang Dongyun plays, he's going to be exhausted and he might not perform as well. I hope that's not true, right? I hope that the guy just made it up. But if that's actually the explanation, then I feel a little bit, I feel like that's not really following the spirit of Go, right? I feel like the sport should be friendly and not like crazily competitive. But I really can't explain why Tan Xiao is playing all the way till the last move, right? So they still played for about 100 moves following this, when black is clearly losing. So I'm just going to play out the moves with some music and without really explaining what's going on because everything is pretty intuitive. 泛黄的夕阳亮在家书桌上，作业本摊开，笔尖在纸上游荡，心思如风中飘向遥远的天际，奇妙的世界在眼前慢慢开上。会说话的动物吟唱着古老的歌谣，是你的猫头鹰在丛林里无声画响，花朵绽放如星辰般璀璨夺梦，翩翩花瓣排队实现每个愿望。飞日越过银行，闪耀着绚烂的光芒，乌龟爬上彩虹，咬一口洁白棉花糖，在你翻身就如那游乐深海，贝壳姑娘扇动着水晶般翅膀。
上已是一片空白，窗外树上已经洒满月光。Oh no， 心头不由羞愧慌张，神秘世界快快谢幕，藏尸退场。当我填满这是这张梦中再聚，我们拉光，你可别忘。会说话的动物吟唱着古老的歌谣，神秘的猫头鹰在丛林里无声画像。花朵绽放如星辰般璀璨夺目，片片花瓣排队实现每个愿望。飞地越过云海，闪耀着绚烂的光芒。乌龟爬晒彩虹，咬一口洁白棉花糖。节日翻身，又跳入那幽冷深海，贝壳孤雁闪动着水晶般翅膀。层层海浪，身后妈妈正是新奇模样。昨夜奔上，原是一片空白，窗外树上已经洒满月光。Oh no， 心头不由羞愧慌张，神秘世界快快谢幕，暂时退场。当我填满这是这张梦中再聚，我们拉开，你可别忘。
So at this point, Tan Xiao decided to resign. He didn't really go into the counting stage. And he probably, well, not probably, he definitely knew that he has lost this game a long time ago, but he decided to fight till the very end. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this game. The next game will be Kang Dongyun versus the Japanese player Toramaru, and I'll definitely be commentating on that game very soon. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That's the only way to make sure you don't miss a future video like this. I regularly post professional commentaries to help you level up your game, so I hope to see you guys in the next one.